Hi, my name is Tiasia O'Brien, and I'm the founder and head of strategy for Seam Social Labs. We're the company that has developed the enterprise product census, and we live by the mantra data by the people for the people. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our product census, which helps you gather, analyze, and get insights from qualitative data. But I'll also share more about data by the people for the people and why the three key principles of this mantra live in the work my team and I do every single day. But I actually want to start with an origin story, a story that is near and dear to my heart because it starts with one of my siblings, my older brother, whose name is Johnny. Johnny's 2 years older than me, and at the young age of 4 years old, he was diagnosed with a developmental disability and being on the autism spectrum. While this did present some challenges for my family and I, ones that we worked through day in and day out, we did find that Junie had very unique skill sets and such a bright personality, even though he didn't have and still doesn't have the ability to talk or communicate. One of Junie's unique skill sets was fixing things. Whether it was a series of Lego blocks or shoes that were literally paired in the wrong way, sitting on the floor, Johnny found himself fixated with these items and had to fix them and put them in the right order. When Johnny was a teenager, he was in a program that helped him work through his abilities. And in that program, someone picked up on this unique skill set. Now, this was intel that they gathered, the same type of intel my family and I had from watching Johnny every single day. They were able to do this through observation. And they took this intel and went to DSW, and they were able to get Johnny a job, a part-time job working to fix shoes at the store. Now, this job helped Johnny's confidence tremendously, and it also made us so proud as a family to see Johnny be recognized for something beyond his diagnosis. This opened up opportunities for Johnny to get jobs in the future. And in 2011, I had the unique chance at presenting a door opening opportunity for a group of youth and people with different abilities that I worked with at a nonprofit organization. My role was to ensure that they can get jobs in a local community. And at this time, I was working in Brooklyn. That year, Barclay Center was preparing to open up. And so their key goals throughout the course of 2011 was hiring and recruiting for the hundreds of jobs that they needed at the arena. Their executive team had plenty of data on the community because their goal was to hire people locally for those jobs, or for most of those jobs. They had data on average household income, racial demographic makeup, whether people had high school degrees or college degrees. But as a sociologist, I'm fully aware that they didn't have the type of data or insights that I had, working with this group of youth and people with different abilities every single day. The type of intel and insights I had was the same type of information that the person who worked at the program with my older brother Johnny had. By spending time with people, you're able to collect contextual insights, qualitative data that doesn't fall into the data set that you usually work with. And this leads to a bigger question. What types of data do we use, and how do we define data? Typically, we think of data as something as being a number, a statistic, something we push into a data visualization, a bar graph, a pie chart, so we can quickly review to make data-driven decisions. But where does qualitative data fall into that? Right now, only 20% of data collected is qualitative data. How can this data help you improve your business, your goals, but also improve the lives of people every single day? From the intel that I had back in 2011, I was able to work with the team at Barclay Center and ensure that over 100 youth and people with different abilities had jobs at the arena once it opened. I went to the arena in 2019 for a concert and was so proud to have a conversation with one of those folks who got hired. And they told me how they were able to move out of their home and start their own family, starting with this job. It was a point which had changed their lives. The same thing had happened for my older brother. How can we continue to create opportunities for people and get more information that looks beyond what we presently have? It's by seeing data as people, by understanding that data and information can go beyond numbers. And that's what our movement, Data by the People, for the People, is based on. When we think about data, how do we start thinking about everyday people? Me, you, our family, our friends, the people we converse with all the time. How do we start thinking about them and their unique quirks, their unique needs? How do we stop trying to fit square pegs into round holes and really push to see what else is beyond the information that we have? Right now in the big data market, 60 to 70% of big data projects fail. I wonder what that failure number would look like if we added more contextual data. That question is not only a question that I am asking. Big tech companies have started to hire qualitative research scientists to really investigate and gather qualitative data for them. The Harvard University Center for Internet and Society recently had an article published through one of their fellows that said contextual insights is going to be the key thing we need to start focusing on in the next decade. If consumers are starting to really speak up about the need for more inclusive studies and research, more ethical data, and anti-racist frameworks, has your company taken this lens and started to approach how you look at your data, analyze your data, and gather your data? This is why the movement for data by the people, for the people is so critical, especially at a time like now. And this is why my team and I at Seam Social Labs have driven this movement and really created a product centered around it. And that product is Census. Now, to jump into our 3 key principles that we've built our product on and that we live by every day, it's the idea of collecting data, co-designing that data, and co-modeling that data. So I'll get into what each of those mean. When we talk about collecting data, what inclusive practices have you and your team put together to ensure that the data that collected is done so in an equitable and an ethical way? How are you executing your studies, your surveys, your focus groups to ensure that every voice is heard? At Census, our product allows you to conduct SMS surveys, which ensures that you don't miss anyone who's impacted by the digital divide, and also translate those surveys into multiple languages. So regardless of if someone speaks English, Spanish, Filipino, Japanese, they're able to engage and give their feedback and critical information to you on a program, a product, or a policy. That's how we really drive home that first principle of collecting data and making sure it's inclusive. The second principle is about co-design. What would a world look like if before we went into every study, we really collaborated with key stakeholders and key partners to understand the problem we're trying to get data on? That's what co-design is really about. With co-design, what we allow you to do and what we partner to do is to ensure that as you design your survey, we check the market and look for additional research that can add context to the questions that you're going to ask. We ensure that your questions are something that are conversational based and don't feel like someone or the everyday person who's responding to it feels like they're being grilled. In addition, we try to give you a little bit of insight as to what are the best practices for conducting an SMS survey or qualitative research in general. We really emphasize the notion of co-modeling by making sure every customer has a unique account manager that they work with, and that your data, once collected real time, is easy to share with your fellow consultants, your team, your bosses, or whomever. That's how we drive the notion of co-design. And then our last concept or principle is co-modeling. How can you co-model data? When you're collecting qualitative data, the most frustrating part about it is you get rows and rows and rows of sentences that give you critical information, but it's often hard to tag and turn into a structured data set that can then easily become a data visualization or a report that is shared with your team. We've developed a unique patent pending algorithm that allows you to co-model that data very quickly and succinctly so you have a one-page report, a report that we call the Equity Insights Report. And that allows you to get key trends and information, but most importantly, ideas and solutions from the people you've engaged in your research. So in closing, the fact that we focus on collecting inclusive data, co-designing that data with different stakeholders, and co-modeling that data to make it more efficient for you is how we really drive home the movement for data by the people, for the people. And it's also how our product CoCensus makes gathering, analyzing, and getting insights from qualitative data easier. Most of our customers have spent up to 6 or 7 months and $70,000 conducting these types of surveys. And that time and that cost is cut in half with our product. And we're proud to say, going even beyond what we've been able to do for our businesses, is we've been able to collect more than 150,000 insights from everyday people across communities all over America to understand what their unique needs are. We're helping solve everyday problems by ensuring that people have an opportunity to share their thoughts on particular subjects. What can be more impactful than giving a voice to someone who doesn't have one? Just in the same way that my family and I, and that team member who worked with my older brother, gave a voice to someone who didn't have one. So he had one opportunity that opened a door for him. If you're interested in being a part of our movement, Data by the People, for the people, and really thinking about new ways to open doors for people, whether you work in HR, market research, or in an external affairs team, we would love to have you join us in our movement and pilot our product. Go to cocensus.io/WIC for Women in the Cloud. I really want to thank each one of you for being a part of my talk today and taking the time to hear my personal story. And honestly, I'd love the opportunity to hear each one of your personal stories because we are what makes this beautiful collage of humanity so unique. It's something that we should never ignore. Again, my name is Tiasia O'Brien, and I'm the founder and head of strategy of SEAM Social Labs. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Women in the Cloud Summit. Bye.